It can work. It can work. Yeah, I'm living proof. Yes, it can work. But I've seen a lot of people together for a long time, and then sometimes it seems like they're just together. But they're not necessarily having fun together. You know what? I would say over the years you do have years that I don't like your dish, y'all. She exposed everything. And I'm not talking about some petty shade or a cute little rumor. I'm talking about the kind of truth that burns careers, destroys reputations, and sends the entire internet into full-scale meltdown. Because tonight, Doctor, Heavenly didn't go live to gossip. She went live to detonate. The moment her face appeared on screen, calm, cold, unshaken. You could feel something dark in the air, a kind of silence that only comes before a storm that's powerful enough to split a family in half. And then she said it, the words that froze millions mid-scroll. Let's talk about who Kandi really is and why her marriage was doomed from day one. Chat exploded. Heartbeat stopped. People leaned closer to their phones like their souls were being dragged into the truth. Because what Heavenly revealed next, it wasn't messy. It was catastrophic. According to her, allegedly, Kandi never loved Todd. Not for a day, not for a second. She married a man she could control. A man who was financially beneath her. A man she could shape, command, and use as a prop in her perfect family illusion. And that was only the first bomb. Heavenly claimed the real Kandi was colder, darker, and more ruthless than anyone had ever dared to imagine. A woman obsessed with power. A woman who needed control like oxygen. A woman who allegedly played with people's hearts, their lives, their marriages, their careers, all so she could stand on top with a crown no one else could touch. And as she kept talking, as the truth kept spilling, it felt less like a live stream and more like a public execution. Tonight wasn't tea. Tonight was tragedy, betrayal, and the death of a legacy. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't drama, it's destruction. The kind of slow-burning, career-killing destruction that doesn't just expose a person, it unwraps their entire legacy, piece by ugly piece, until nothing recognizable is left. Tonight, Doctor, Heavenly didn't whisper, didn't hint, didn't tease. She tore the tablecloth off the entire illusion and left every shattered truth right in front of the world. And the way she did it, calm, calculated, I see. Like someone who had held these secrets for far too long and finally decided it was time to let the light burn everything clean. The moment she went live, thousands flooded in. No intro, no small talk, no smile. Just a face that said, "This is going to hurt." She leaned in slightly, the room behind her silent, and in a tone that felt like a courtroom oath, she began. "Let's stop pretending," she said. Kandi didn't marry for love. She married for control. That single sentence was enough to tear the internet in half. Comments shot up so fast the screen barely kept up. People gasped in real time, clapped hands over their mouths, froze mid-scroll. Because for years, viewers painted Kandi Burruss as the unshakable success story. Unstoppable career, unstoppable ambition, unstoppable confidence, unstoppable marriage. But according to Heavenly, that image was nothing more than a glossy filter masking a truth darker than anyone had bothered to imagine. She continued. Todd wasn't a partner. He was a piece on her chessboard. Someone smaller, someone financially weaker, someone who would never threaten the throne she built. Every word stabbed deeper than the last. Heavenly didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her calmness was the weapon. She explained how Kandi allegedly handpicked Todd not because he balanced her, but because he couldn't challenge her. How she needed someone pliable, someone who wouldn't push back, someone she could mold, command, and position exactly where she wanted him. That marriage, she said, was a business agreement dressed in wedding bells. No one breathed. There was no stutter, no hesitation, just a steady breakdown of a relationship people once believed was built on genuine connection. Heavenly described a woman driven not by affection, but by strategy. A woman who allegedly viewed emotional closeness as a liability. A woman who wanted power more than partnership. As she spoke, it didn't feel like a live stream. It felt like evidence being submitted. She went deeper, revealing that behind the cameras, the smiles, and the rehearsed family dynamic lies a truth people sensed, but never had the courage to say out loud. Kandi allegedly loved the image of marriage, not the man in it. She pointed out something chilling. The way Kandi always stood a little above her partners, financially, emotionally, socially. Everything in her life had to orbit around her. And the moment someone got too close to disrupting that orbit, She pushed them out with a coldness only people who've lived through it can recognize. But that was only the start. In the same controlled tone, she said, Kandi didn't just want the marriage. She wanted the power that came with controlling it. People watching the live started typing long, breathless comments, some in denial, some in shock, some admitting they always sensed something off, something hollow, something staged. Heavenly went on to explain how this alleged control seeped into everything, how staff felt it, how producers felt it, how even castmates whispered about her dominance behind closed doors. According to Heavenly, Kandi carried a narcissistic hunger for authority that overshadowed every connection around her. She painted a picture of a woman who allegedly demanded loyalty, obedience, and silence from everyone in her orbit, while offering them nothing emotionally in return. Heaven's voice tightened as if she was choosing her words carefully. There was no warmth in that household, only pressure. The chat exploded. People typed lightning-fast reactions, disbelief turning into realization. The more she talked, the more it felt like the curated image of Kandi's life, the perfect marriage, the perfect home, the perfect rising empire, was dissolving into smoke. Then Heavenly dropped the detail that made comment sections lose their minds. Kandi confessed publicly that she enjoyed threesomes, but what she didn't say was why. It wasn't about pleasure. It was about control. She paused. She didn't want emotional intimacy. She wanted scenarios she could dominate. The entire tone of the live shifted. This wasn't tea. This was deep psychological deception. Heavenly explained how Kandi allegedly kept emotional distance by keeping situations chaotic, offering certain castmates sensual invitations, creating uncomfortable boundaries, playing dangerously close to lines no married person should flirt with. She even brought up how Portia once mentioned that Kandi approached her with an offer that left her stunned. And suddenly everything fans once dismissed as storyline messiness now felt like early warnings of something much darker. The audience felt the weight of it. This wasn't typical reality show drama. This was an unraveling. Heavenly took a breath, then shifted into something even heavier. The family dynamic. Mama Joyce, she said, was toxic from the beginning. Viewers who had watched Mama Joyce for years knew this wasn't going to be pretty. She never respected Todd. Never wanted him. Never trusted him. She called him an opportunist before the ink on the prenup was dry. And Heavenly wasn't done. She explained how the entire prenup situation wasn't a test of love. It was humiliation disguised as responsibility. How Mama Joyce pushed it. How Kandi encouraged it. How Todd allegedly signed under pressure, not commitment. It wasn't proof that he loved her. Heavenly said it was proof he had no choice. The comments detonated again. Some siding with Todd. Some stunned into silence. Some furious they never saw the emotional manipulations hiding in plain sight. Heavenly described Mama Joyce as a shadow looming over the marriage. Someone who viewed Todd as an intrusion, not an addition. Someone who injected doubt and resentment into the home from day one. Someone who allegedly fueled Riley with narratives that made it impossible for the family to function. People could feel the heaviness of every detail, like each sentence peeled back another layer of a private world nobody was supposed to see. Heavenly wasn't gossiping. She was building a case. She said Riley allegedly grew up believing Todd was temporary, unworthy, inferior, that she was taught to view him as an outsider, almost an enemy, and that the tension between Riley and Kayla wasn't teenage conflict. It was emotional inheritance. By now, the audience was mentally drained, their hearts pounding, but Heavenly still had more. She leaned forward again, and the chat froze. "There's something else," she said quietly. "Something the world has whispered for years, but never dared to say." People held their breath. Her voice dropped. Some people in the industry claim Don Juan wasn't just a manager. They claim he was involved. The room felt colder. There are whispers that one of the children people believe might be Tots may not be. The chat exploded into chaos, disbelief, outrage, heartbreak, accusations, and Heavenly didn't flinch. She ended this portion with one final devastating line. Nothing about that marriage was real. Not the love, not the loyalty, not the family unity. Everything was built on control, power, and survival, never on connection. The live didn't feel like entertainment anymore. It felt like a legacy collapsing in real time. And the moment those words left her mouth, the atmosphere inside that live dream twisted into something darker. People weren't just watching anymore. They were witnessing a dismantling, a slow-motion collapse of the image they had been fed for years. The live chat kept flooding with disbelief, but Heavenly only grew calmer, steadier, almost as if she had been carrying this weight for so long that releasing it finally allowed her to breathe. She didn't blink when she continued. "There's a part of this story," she said quietly, "that nobody wants to say out loud, because it exposes how deeply broken everything behind those doors really was." The tone in her voice made thousands lean closer to their screens. She explained that the chaos inside that household didn't begin with fame, nor with marriage. It began with years of resentment buried under success, years of unspoken tension layered beneath the glamorous lifestyle. She described a home where every room carried a different battle, silence in one corner, arguments in another. Emotional distance stretched so wide that nothing could bridge it. It didn't sound like a marriage anymore. It sounded like an institution slowly collapsing under the weight of its own lies. Then Heavenly shifted to something even heavier. She described the way Todd allegedly started withdrawing, not out of anger, but exhaustion. He was surrounded by people who didn't want him there. He tried to blend in, tried to contribute, tried to be a father, a partner, a presence that mattered, but every step he took was met with judgment, dismissal, or worse, coldness. She said he didn't just lose confidence. He lost his identity. The comments flooded in with heartbreak emojis, fire emojis, stunned messages. Viewers were trying to process it all, but Heavenly didn't give them time to breathe. She leaned in slightly. While everyone was busy accusing Todd of being the problem, people ignored what he was quietly dealing with. A household where every decision was made without him. Every emotional connection was filtered before it reached him. Every boundary he tried to set was broken before it could protect him. This wasn't a marriage. This was survival training. Then, without warning, she revealed something even more disturbing. She said Todd allegedly started finding emotional comfort outside the home. Not in a romantic way at first, but in the form of conversations with someone who listened without treating him like a prop. And that someone she claimed was none other than Portia. The screen erupted, but Heavenly wasn't sensationalizing. Her voice never shook. She spoke like a witness, giving sworn testimony. "It started with simple conversations," she said. "Two people talking about how hard it is to live under pressure. Two people who felt undervalued. Two people who understood each other in a way no one else in their circles did." The viewers' reactions turned frantic, some angry, some shocked, some whispering, "I knew it." Then Heavenly delivered the line that froze everyone. "And emotional comfort is one step away from emotional attachment. And emotional attachment is one breath away from something deeper." She let the silence stretch just long enough for people to feel it. "People don't just fall for someone else," she said. "They fall out of what they're trapped in." Her words were almost chilling, not dramatic, not exaggerated, just painfully real. Then, with that same steady tone, she revealed the alleged secret that had been circulating behind closed doors for years. Todd didn't just confide in Porsche, he allegedly cared for her, and she cared back. The live chat exploded so violently that messages blurred into unreadable streaks across the screen. But Heavenly didn't stop. She explained how the emotional tension allegedly grew during quiet moments away from cameras, away from castmates, away from prying eyes. She described two people who connected in ways that should never happen while one of them is married. Yet, they kept drifting toward each other because the spaces they came from were already crumbling. And then she dropped the nuclear reveal, the one that made thousands clutch their chest, rewind the stream, and scream at their screens. "There are whispers," she said, voice low, "that something happened during that vulnerable time. Something that left behind a consequence nobody was expecting." She paused long enough for the tension take. Then she said it. "There might be a child involved." The live stream didn't just shake, it detonated. People typed in disbelief and, "Oh wait, stop. Heavenly, what are you saying? That child, who does it belong to?" But Heavenly stayed emotionless, composed like someone delivering information they never wanted to carry. She clarified she wasn't naming the child, wasn't pointing fingers, but was sharing what many insiders had whispered for years, that Todd's life outside the marriage wasn't as clean as he pretended. She said when someone challenges a prenup, they're not fighting for love, they're fighting for freedom. The way she said it felt like a direct blow to the heart of the entire marriage narrative. She then broke down how the prenup challenge allegedly exposed Todd's true intentions, not loyalty, not dedication, but the desire for financial protection because he knew the emotional foundation of the marriage was non-existent. She continued, describing how the household atmosphere grew more poisonous. Kandi holding tighter, Todd pulling away, Mama Joyce throwing verbal daggers, Riley choosing sides. Kayla withdrawing entirely, Don Juan circling the situation like a quiet storm. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the public kept praising the couple goals image they saw online, unaware of the emotional war happening behind closed doors. Heavenly mentioned late-night arguments that lasted until morning, silent dinners where nobody spoke, family gatherings where smiles were stretched so tightly they almost cracked. She described a home where love never grew, only tension did. According to her, Todd and Kandi weren't living together. They were living beside each other. Strangers, sharing a house, sharing responsibilities, sharing a child. But not sharing a life. Heavenly's voice softened at one point, almost sympathetic, even though her words were cutting through the internet like knives. "It's hard to watch two people pretend," she said. "It's even harder when you know one of them never wanted the marriage and the other one never felt accepted in it." She described the emotional distance like a physical wall, thick, cold, unbreakable. A wall that grew taller with every argument, every accusation, every moment of silence. She said the public saw unity, but behind that picture-perfect frame was a tangle of resentment that had been gathering for years, waiting for the right moment to burst through. And then she explained how the explosion finally happened. Arguments turned into accusations. Accusations turned into threats. Threats turned into irreversible decisions. And somewhere in that emotional battlefield, someone decided they couldn't continue pretending. She said that the divorce wasn't a shock to anyone inside the home, only to finally take charge of the situation. People living in that house had already been emotionally divorced for years, and Heavenly described the final days before everything hit the news. Her voice darkened even more. "There were nights when neither of them spoke," she said. "Nights when Todd slept in another room. Nights when Kandi stayed out longer than she needed to. Nights when the home didn't feel like a home at all." She ended with a line that felt like a verdict. This wasn't a breakup. It was a collapse. Everything viewers thought they knew shattered. And in those final moments before the story hit every headline, the truth didn't whisper, it screamed. The kind of revelation that doesn't just shock audiences, it rattles them to their core. Heavenly leaned closer to the camera, the shadows behind her deepening the weight of every word. She didn't need theatrics. Her calm intensity alone was enough to make thousands pause mid-scroll, hearts racing, eyes wide, minds refusing to accept what they were hearing. She started with the foundation of the collapse. The home, the marriage, the illusion. "This wasn't a disagreement," she said. "It wasn't a series of arguments you can brush off. This was the slow erosion of every emotional bond in that house. Every single connection had been undermined, manipulated, or broken deliberately. And people didn't see it coming because the smiles were perfect, the family portraits flawless, the social media posts polished to hide the rod underneath." Her voice carried the weight of someone revealing not gossip, but hard truth. Can's control wasn't subtle. It was strategic. It was obsessive. She allegedly monitored every interaction, every reaction, every heartbeat around her. Todd, Riley, even cast members. They were all pieces to manage, pawns in a game nobody realized was being played. The live chat erupted, disbelief blending with obsession. Viewers couldn't look away. Comments streak, outrage, and heartbreak. Heavenly went deeper, painting a picture of Todd's isolation. "He was trapped," she said, almost whispering now. "Trapped in a marriage where love was performative, where loyalty was expected, but never reciprocated. Every attempt to connect emotionally was met with dismissal or cold strategy. He didn't just lose love, he lost himself." And then she revealed the alleged emotional betrayal that left viewers gasping. While everyone was distracted by the illusion of perfection, she said Todd was secretly seeking understanding, empathy, someone who could see him without judgment. That someone, Porsche, and their connection wasn't simple conversation. It was a lifeline. The screen exploded. Thousands typed simultaneously. And oh my God, what? Some screamed into empty rooms, some leaned closer, some sat frozen, absorbing every syllable. Heavenly didn't hesitate. "And comfort?" she said slowly. "Letting each word land leads to attachment. Attachment leads to consequences. And in this case, those consequences might have left a mark nobody expected: a child. There are whispers. There are claims. There are people who know, but fear keeps them silent." The chat went berserk. Viewers struggled to process what was being said, their shock translating into an uncontrollable frenzy. The internet felt like it fractured in real time. No one could ignore the tension, the tragedy, the weight of alleged truths being uncovered so publicly. She paused for a beat, letting the gravity sink in, then pivoted to the family dynamic. Mama Joyce, she said, her tone heavy, wasn't just a bystander. She allegedly fueled the fire, guiding Riley to distrust Todd, manipulating perception, creating layers of resentment that made reconciliation impossible. Her influence wasn't small. It was toxic, pervasive, strategic. Every action seemed casual, but every move shaped a narrative that served control, not love. Heavenly's words cut deep, and Riley, she wasn't just a witness, she became a participant, knowingly or unknowingly, absorbing this toxicity and reinforcing it. She was taught to see Todd as a threat, as an outsider, and that emotional conditioning shaped every interaction inside that house. Viewers were gasping. Screens went silent for seconds, as thousands tried to comprehend the magnitude. This wasn't just celebrity gossip. It was the unmasking of what looked like a perfect family allegedly built on manipulation, distance, and hidden schemes. Then came the most shocking revelation of all. Don Juan, Heavenly said, eyes narrowing, wasn't just a manager. Allegedly, he became entangled in ways that complicated everything. People claimed lines were crossed, trust was broken, and the sanctity of the household was invaded. There are claims that a child long thought to belong to Todd may not be his, and this isn't speculation. It's whispers from those inside the circle who witnessed it all unfold. The chat turned chaotic. People were screaming at screens. Some refused to believe it. Some cried. Some admitted they had sensed the cracks before, but never imagined it went this deep. She didn't pause for reaction. She went further. Every confrontation, every argument, every calculated move was designed to maintain control. Kandi allegedly wanted absolute dominance, not just in the marriage, but in the perception of everyone around her. She allegedly orchestrated interactions, managed emotions, and leveraged relationships to ensure she remained untouchable. Heavenly's voice grew quieter, but more intense. Todd's attempts to assert himself were systematically undermined. His attempts at communication, at understanding, at love, were met with calculated coldness. His attempts at protection, financial or emotional, were met with resistance. And the prenup, far from a simple legal instrument, became evidence of the imbalance. A public marker proving that love was never the foundation. The audience's reactions became a tidal wave of disbelief. Messages repeated the same words. "This is insane. I can't. Oh my God, heaven, help us all." Heavenly didn't stop. And when the world thought they were witnessing normal life, normal family dynamics, the emotional manipulation, the control, the underlying deceit was happening in plain sight. What looks like a smile in public may have been the calm surface of a storm raging privately. What looks like harmony may have been the precise orchestration of someone's will. She explained how Portia allegedly became a pivotal part of the hidden narrative, an emotional crutch Todd depended on while the household collapsed around him. And from that connection, she said slowly, came consequences. A bond, a child, a fracture in the narrative the world thought they understood. The chat couldn't keep up. Thousands were typing simultaneously, arguing, questioning, gasping. The screen was chaos personified. Then Heavenly revealed the final layers, the alleged strategic cruelty, the emotional warfare, the way Todd was trapped between love, responsibility, and betrayal. "This isn't just about a divorce," she said, voice low and unwavering. "This is about the unraveling of lives, the exposure of secrets, and the demolition of an image, carefully crafted over decades." She detailed how the household didn't heal, didn't adjust, didn't reconcile. Everything was public performance. Everything was calculated. The arguments that leaked, the rumors, the smiles, it was all part of the act. And now, finally, the truth has broken free. She concluded with a statement that left viewers stunned. "This story isn't over, but what's already exposed should be enough for everyone to realize that what looked perfect was never real. Control, manipulation, secrecy, emotional games. This was never a marriage. It was a labyrinth of calculated moves, and the world is only now seeing the exits." The live ended not with applause, not with cheers, but with silence. The kind of stunned silence that fills hearts, freezes timelines, and leaves people staring at screens for minutes. unable to process what they just witnessed. The aftermath was instantaneous. Social media fractured. Comments flooded in every language, every time zone. News outlets scrambled. Fans screamed, analyzed, and argued. Conspiracies were born midstream. People who had idolized the couple now questioned everything. Every photo, every story, every smile, every interview, every child, every friend, every move. The narrative had collapsed. And as the internet tried to catch up, one undeniable truth hung in the air. Nothing about this marriage was as it appeared. The facade was shattered. The perfection was gone. What remained was raw, messy, emotionally devastating, and viral beyond imagination. Every user watching knew one thing. The scandal, the heartbreak, the deception. The world had never seen anything quite like this. And with every retweet, every share, every comment, the story spread like wildfire. Heavenly didn't just expose a marriage. She exposed an entire system of control, manipulation, and emotional chaos that had been hidden in plain sight. By the time the stream ended, the damage was done. The legacy that had taken years to craft, the image that had been polished and perfected, the public trust, the family perception, all of it lay in ruins, allegedly meticulously unraveled in front of millions. And as people logged off, one question lingered in every mind, repeating itself like a drumbeat. How much of what we saw was real? And how much was carefully orchestrated deception? It was tragedy. It was scandal. It was the kind of story that would echo through the internet for months, years, even, haunting every memory of that once perfect picture. And as the dust settles on everything we just uncovered, the truth hangs heavy in the air. The illusion of perfection is gone. The smiles, the celebrations, the carefully curated social media posts, all shattered, leaving nothing but raw, exposed reality. What the world thought was love was control. What the world thought was unity was manipulation. What the world believed to be family was a labyrinth of secrets, betrayals, and unspoken pain. Every viewer watching this knows the weight of what has been revealed. A household, a marriage, an empire built on power, not affection. A story where every whisper, every glance, every interaction was a calculated move. And now, finally, the world sees the cracks that were hidden for years. It's a tragedy, yes, but it's a revelation. A full-blown dismantling of an image millions once trusted. And the aftermath? It's chaos, shock, heartbreak, conversations exploding across timelines, theories flying faster than the speed of sight, questions burning in minds everywhere. Who was really in love? Who was really betrayed? And what secrets are still buried, waiting to surface? The story doesn't end here. The revelations are just the beginning. You've seen the lies, the manipulation, the heartbreak. You've seen the pieces of a life torn apart by control and deception. Now, it's up to you to witness what comes next. So, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join us as we dive even deeper into the scandals, the secrets, and the explosive truths the world wasn't ready for. This is far from over, and every detail, every confession, every hidden moment, you'll see it here first. Stay tuned, brace yourself, and watch closely because the next chapter promises to shock, devastate, and expose more than anyone ever imagined.